is news in the sense that someone was talking about what was it, at ESPN, floated a trade idea. Jimmy G for Baker Mayfield. We've talked about it on this show before. Larry, let's debate this, or at least discuss it, because I'm intrigued. What do you think?
Well, it is interesting. Why did the 49ers even move off of Jimmy to begin with, or why did they go for another quarterback? Either they felt Jimmy was limited, or they also felt like if they lost Jimmy, they would lose games, right? So they wanted a second quarterback. They added a second quarterback. Now they're going to move on from Jimmy. Aren't they back to a one quarterback situation? Aren't they now in a similar spot that they were a couple of years ago? So the idea that you would trade Jimmy and get another quarterback, albeit a little bit cheaper and a little bit younger, it's interesting. It's interesting. I definitely think 22 of the 24 women that accused Deshaun Watson of nefarious acts settled with him. Doesn't mean that nothing happened, but 22 of those 24 cases went away, but the NFL can still suspend Watson and probably will. So what are the Browns going to do this year? And Baker's not going to be the guy. So it kind of puts it on them to find another quarterback, because they've invested an awful lot of money in Deshaun, Grant, but they don't have any assurances that he'll play this year.
Let me ask you some questions. Do you think Baker Mayfield would want to come here and be Trey Lance's backup for a year? Or would he sulk?
I think it'll be easier for him to be the backup here than it would be a backup somewhere else. Okay. But no, I definitely don't think that's his first. He thinks of himself as a starter, and probably justifiably so. So he probably doesn't want to be here. But you never know, because Kyle Shanahan's the wild card factor. How does he view the Shanahan factor in the association? I don't know. I mean, would he increase his value if he sat here and played occasionally? Maybe, but he doesn't seem like he's wired that way.
Maybe he would feel that he'd have an opportunity to play here. Maybe he has an opinion on Trey Lance. Maybe he thinks that, who knows?
He could beat him out. Yeah, maybe he feels like he can beat him out.
Possible. There's that. Let me ask other questions. Okay, so that's a lot of money on a backup quarterback. I have said that the Niners are they need Trey Lance to pretty much play all 17 games, because I don't trust Nate Sudfeld to play at all. So I could see bringing in a high-quality backup. I thought they'd go for someone like Tyrod Taylor. $19 million is a lot for Baker Mayfield. Would you rather just cut Jimmy and then keep that money available for maybe a big trade at the deadline, or just roll it over to next year?
I'd rather it's hard to say, because it's like right now, it's like the rolling it over for next year is probably what's going to happen. Right. So would I rather have a number 2 quarterback that I know can play this year? And, it depends how you view your Super Bowl window. It depends how you view your roster. I think they're kind of a Super Bowl ready roster with a quarterback who may or may not be ready. And in that situation, maybe having a proven backup number 2 is actually of greater value. Like if you said to me right now, here's $100,000, here's $100,000 ticket, you own it on the 49ers winning the Super Bowl next year, I'd be all about this trade, because that rolling into next year doesn't help me cash my ticket, but potentially Baker Mayfield on my bench would.
Here's the thing. I mean, you make a very compelling argument, and if the Niners were to do this, I feel like I could say in hindsight, you really would prefer to spend $19 million on Trey's backup as opposed to Trey's protection? Like, you could have got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and spent this money on Laken Tomlinson or a really good starting center. But no, you waited until the very end and traded Jimmy for Baker. And so now, if Trey gets hurt, you got Baker Mayfield. But, how about protecting him? I'm just saying. I mean, that's not your call. It's like, at this point, why not get a good backup? But the Niners sort of put themselves in a weird situation.
Well, and it's also weird because you're inviting the circus to town, sort of, because now you may have Baker would have to be totally on board with where he's at and being number 2. And that probably is a non-starter right there. I mean, it was a non-starter for him being number 2 to Deshaun in Cleveland. Why would he have a dramatically different feel in San Francisco? Maybe Shanahan would be the reason for that. Maybe the viability of winning a ring here would be be the difference for that. Maybe as you kind of hinted, maybe he doesn't feel like Trey Trey would beat him out. But then you're now inviting a competitor to the situation, and that probably is not in Trey's best interest. So it's, in a way, it would also could be viewed as a hedge against Trey, and that probably undercuts Trey's leadership ability in the room. So it probably is a non-starter. But man, if you said to me you can have a viable second quarterback going into this year, and I got $100,000 ticket on the Super Bowl, I like that move.
It's true. Part of me would rather just keep Jimmy, though, because there's something about Baker that I really don't like. I give Jimmy a hard time, but I don't have anything against Jimmy Garoppolo. By all accounts, nice guy. Everyone likes him. He's just shouldn't be, the quarterback of this team. Baker, I mean, just from the way he talks to Colin Cowherd and the way he does his commercials and how he alienates all of his teammates, there's something really cringy about him. And I feel like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it's on the maturity scale.
Yeah.
He's on the low end where Jimmy's on the other end. True. So that's the thing. Jimmy, I think, has got a lot of mental maturity, kind of like Alex Smith with Kaepernick. He was very, very mentally mature. Alex Smith with Mahomes. Baker doesn't seem like that. Baker seems like, hey, it's got to be about Baker, that he's still hooked up on being a star.
Exactly.
That's the other question, though. What if you could have Baker, rehab him, and get tremendous. Let's say Trey plays terrific football, Grant, for 6 weeks, and you're convinced he's the guy. Oh, then all of a sudden he's got a quad injury and he misses a month. And here comes Baker and Kyle's offense, and he plays lights out.
Yep.
Don't you have potentially you've rehabilitated his value to the point where maybe you could actually surf away from that at some point and turn him into assets in the future? I don't know. I mean, it's a 1-year deal, right? He's only got 1 year left. Yeah. So it'd be complicated, but yeah, it's interesting. To me, it helps you in the present win if you have to play him, but it hurts you in the present if he comes in and ruins your chemistry or in any way undercuts Trey Lance.
I'll say this. It's the wrong use of Jimmy Garoppolo's money, but at this point, it might be the best thing. It might be the best use of it. Like the right use of the Jimmy Garoppolo's money would have been months ago.
Right.
But now if you wait this long, geez, I mean, what offensive lineman are you going to get at this point? Maybe this is the best you can, if you don't want to roll it over. I think they're probably going to end up rolling it over. Let me ask you, what do you? I'm just curious.
Here's the other thing. There's one factor we haven't weighed in on this. What if Jimmy's headed to Seattle? Now, you've addressed it before, and you don't fear that. But if I'm John Lynch, I may fear that. They got a tremendous run game, and Jimmy, they've got some decent weapons around him, and God knows he's got motivation. And what if he goes to Seattle, and you get nothing in a trade, and he beats you twice? Compare that to the distraction of Baker, and then all of a sudden Baker doesn't look like the Baker distraction doesn't look so bad. If I'm Lynch, I don't know that I want to see Jimmy in Seattle twice next year.
No, I think you bring up a lot of great points. I'm not even arguing with you. I'm just asking. My last question I have for you is, where do you really see? Because Baker annoys me. I'm just gonna he just annoys me. I don't know what it is about him. And when bad things happen in his career, I'm not rooting for it, but I giggle. I'm like, sorry. So I think he's going to be a backup this year. What do you think? He thinks he's going to, I don't know. He thinks he's holding out for some great spot. What do you think is going to happen to him this year?
Carolina, maybe in a trade, maybe some kind of a 3-way trade where Darnold winds up in Seattle. Carolina winds up with Baker, and the Browns get some form of draft pick compensation. If I had to guess, that would be my guess.
Let me ask you this. I don't know why I'm curious.
I like Baker more than Darnold.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is Baker going to go to the next team and flop, or is he going to go to the next team and be like Ryan Tannehill? Does he just need a good organization, or is he just bad?
I like him. I think he's been browned You know, he's been associated with the Browns, and yet they have some talent. It's not they don't have talent, and at times he's played really well. This last year, you can't evaluate him. We saw he was just totally beat up and playing hurt. But I think if you put him, I think quarterback, there's the great ones, there's the bad ones, and then there's the guys who are. It's really about where they are and what offense and what surrounding cast. I think if you put Baker on a premier team with good surrounding cast, I think he could be quite a bit better than what we've seen.
Yeah, I think earlier in the segment I said I'd rather have Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me slap myself for saying that because that's ridiculous. Are you kidding? I mean,
Baker throws better, moves better.
Moves better, throws better, actually will pull the trigger down the field. I mean, they both get injured. Yeah, I'd rather have Baker Mayfield. Look, I'm not you made some very good points, Larry. Intriguing. And one more thing. If Kyle Shanahan can win with Jimmy, he'll probably win with Baker. I would think. If Baker's
I mean, you know, Kyle made RG3 look good. Kyle made Johnny Manziel look good for a few games. I mean, I bet you he could do some things with Baker. I like the way Baker throw. I like the moxie of Baker. I like the swagger that he has. I just don't know if he's going to fit. Like, I don't know that you can have I think everything's got to be all about Trey. And this would be the first indication that they're concerned about Trey if they made that deal. But it also covers you at the most important position on the field. And you do have a whole season to play. And you're looking at Nate Sudfeld. If Trey goes down for any period of time, you know, when you think about it, it doesn't look, when you factor in all the options, it's viable.
It's more compelling than I thought. I don't think they'll do it. And I think mostly for the reason you just said. Like, it just looks bad. What does it say about how you feel about Trey? Even though it might be
mixed messages. It's like, hey, we're all in on Trey, but here, just in case.